This is Real Race Talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Hot damn, it's Monday. It's raining. We're still in COVID. Bobby's next to me. How about that? How about that shit?
Well, you know, it is a birthday show.
That's exactly right.
Anytime you got to come up to challenge the COVID, you got to come up for the birthday show. Happy birthday to the Revved Up Sports Show. 4 years old yesterday.
How about that, man? And they said it wouldn't last, man. They said that this was something that Actually, nobody said that, but we may have wondered. Thank you, Jacqueline Drake. Already checking in with the, I like that. Good emojis right there, and congratulations there to Jacqueline. Obviously, that's one of our best friends of the program right there, and she's got Monday Night Live as she is coming right off of that. She talked to Travis Braden. Travis Braden tonight, man. Travis Braden taking care of business yesterday as he wins the Fall Brawl. Good for him, man. That's a good dude right there. Wins it over at Lucas Oil. Congratulations to Travis Braden. Welcome into the program. Friends along the Gulf Coast, take cover. Houston, wherever all of this may be going on, just kind of keep an eye open. Keep an eye open because you just never know what's going to happen. So 4 years, Bobby, so I guess we've done one term.
One term, yeah. Because it's 4 years on the calendar, but it's 5 years worth of content if you're going back and counting at home. So
and it's funny. Thank you, Shane. No, that was a good time out there. There's a hell of a show out there at Cotton Bowl Speedway on Saturday night, and what a racetrack those fine folks put together. Speaking of Cotton Bowl, 7:35. We will talk to Taylor Stewart. Wins her first main event out there. She was close last time out, and she takes care of business this time. And before that, coming up at 7 o'clock, it's ladies' night, as it should be, Bobby, for you and I on the birthday of this program. We talked to Gracie Trotter. So, of course, Taylor looking to do what Gracie Trotter's doing. So we'll have that coming up. This is a locked and loaded little program we got happening here tonight.
Yeah, locked and loaded birthday edition show. Gotta love it. Got a lot of good fans already up on the text line, on the Facebook feed line, whatever we want to call it. We should probably find a way to call that something.
Yeah, you know, the Facebook feed, if somebody's got money, we could call it the, underscore whatever, Revved Up Sports Show text line. So, yeah, absolutely. Keep those comments coming and let us know where all of you were out racing this weekend and who's doing good and who's doing not so good. I mean, we'll talk about all of that. We'll have some race results coming up for you here in just a little bit. But if you, I do know it is no secret that a lot of folks get a little upset with the NASCAR stuff and so forth. But we saw some news today. So for Austin area race fans, and it, we really want this to become a race town. Austin may have a huge opportunity. There's talks of a cup race coming to Dakota. Serious talks.
As in serious enough
That's
that
big.
it might be announcing it by the end of the week. That's how serious the talks have been, y'all.
Yeah, that's big time. And I've actually seen people interested in that aren't interested in NASCAR. But let me tell you something right there. That's super major league right there. You've already added Nashville. So there's good correlation there where you're going to have NASCAR or where you would have maybe Nashville and Austin. I mean, the music capitals right there. Hopefully we get to a point where, you can have live music, but that's a super big deal. And maybe moving the All-Star race to TMS. So that's big, man. That's big.
Well, it's got a chance to be a unique situation. Obviously, they had to give something to Eddie Gossage because we've said on this program many times before is that there's no way they're going to have 3 different cup races here in Texas. And of course, they actually are going to have 2 point-paying races is what basically we understand is that they're going to take probably the spring race from Texas Motor Speedway and move it to COTA, and then take one of the summer races, move it to the All-Star race, which could coincide with the IndyCar race. Don't know for sure. Haven't heard any official details on that, but it looks like this race at COTA with the Cup Series coming, they may not have a date released just yet, but they're more than likely going to at least announce that coming in 2021, the Cup cars will be at COTA. Who knows if it's going to be a companion race with the IndyCar series. Right now, the most important thing is not so much the date in 2021, is the fact that the world-class facility known as the Circuit of the Americas is going to be hosting a NASCAR Cup Series race, at least in the minimum, more than likely going to be a doubleheader weekend with the Xfinity Series.
And just the fact of that, and I mean, think about it, Bobby. You and I were kind of texting back and forth a little bit, so that you could have a Cup race, you're probably going to have an IndyCar race, and you have Formula One. So for Austin and for Circuit of the Americas, that's a big deal. I mean, because just a few months ago, we were talking about this place maybe not even surviving through all of this.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't had concerts, you haven't had soccer, you haven't had anything that you've been able to have out there. And seriously, I mean, Texas, applaud yourselves. I mean, 3 possible Cup races, and including the All-Star race. You done good. You done damn good.
Well, they had to go give something to Eddie Gossage. Obviously, Eddie doesn't want to lose a points-paying race, but that's a pretty good trade-off to lose a points-paying race to the biggest race, the All-Star race. Can you imagine the spin that Eddie Gossage is going to put on the All-Star race if it comes from Texas?
Yeah.
$1 million to the winner with Eddie Gossage promoting it? Man, that's going to be a lot of fun.
That'll be huge. Hopefully everyone was able to listen to, speaking of NASCAR, while we're talking about that. And again, now we're talking local NASCAR. Hopefully friends were able to listen to Bailey Curry with us on Saturday on The Horn Show. You can catch that archive at hornfm.com. And if you actually go to revvedupsportshow.com on the interviews section, you can find that sitting right there at the top, as that was put up last night, just Bailey's section. But to listen to Bailey talk about the trials and tribulations of a team that, with Rick Ware Racing, and then talking about Mike Harmon racing, some of the stuff that they go through, and just him as an up-and-comer and working on cars and driving cars. Really solid interview from Bailey. And like we talked about, man, when that dude start talking so much?
That was so funny. We ended up asking him one question, and what we thought would be a really short answer with him. Not that we minded that it was a little long, but it was so surprising coming from Bailey in the fact that the answer, what we would normally expect to be really short, and he took that in depth and just dissected it and chewed it up into multiple different ways and answered about 15 questions out of what should have been a one single answer question, which is a good thing. That means he's come a long way. And then maybe it's just so he's finally got used to talking to us after all these years. Maybe he's just not as nervous anymore.
Yeah, could be. But he did tremendous, and what a job he did on Friday night in that Xfinity race. That's a situation there where that truck arm breaks in the back of that race car, and seriously, a lot of other guys. You talk about talented race car drivers. Bailey Curry is obviously one. I mean, we know it firsthand, and you listen to that interview and you figure out why he is so good at what he does. But many a man would not have been able to save what Bailey saved in that. I mean, that had disaster written all over it, and he did a tremendous job, keeping that at a minimum.
No, it was a great save in terms of what he was able to do with that. And it was all over social media. Obviously, the people that when our circle of friends saw it and really, really was positively reacted to it. I thought it was one hell of a save that he did, especially with that. He did keep it out of the wall. I guess he bumped it just a little bit, but he kept it out of the wall for the most part. Comparatively to the way that rear end was shimmying and shaking and rocking left and right, that was one hell of a damn good save. It should be on some promo stuff some way, somehow. Yeah,
and that's a dude there where I saw on Twitter that he posted that they're obviously looking for funding and so forth. That's where you hope that I would love to see Bailey Curry in one of those top tier equipment rides. I mean, I would love to see that happen because I think that he could do some really special things. So congratulations to Bailey just for everything that he's accomplished. And I mean, he's persevered, for one thing, and that's tough to do. Some race results. Texana Raceway Park this past weekend. Again, just another great show out there with Owen and Texana. Got to give a big applause to Owen. I saw that he had posted, we talked about it before the program, Bobby, where Owen owned a couple of incidents that happened there, maybe some miscommunication in tech, and then an incident out on the racetrack. And again, Owen's done this long enough to where you take that and you're very forthright with it and you attack it right away before you let everybody just take it and put their own spin on it and just destroy you on social media.
Yeah, he did the right thing by coming right after it and just knocking it out of the park. Obviously, the things that happened over there, you don't want to see happen with a tech issue and a scoring error. I guess you would call that a scoring error, letting the car back in its own spot. But obviously, Owen is a busy man. If you're looking to get involved in racing and want to get involved in either race announcing or helping out at the racetrack in any way, shape, or form, just get yourself in touch with Owen Pittman, and I'm sure he'll be able to to find you a nice position there at Texana that he can help with. That man, that is a man of many hats. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how he pulls all that off. So good for him, and good for him for owning that. And you feel bad for the folks involved there, but just one of those things when you're race directing, trying to help supervise tech and announcing and doing all this other stuff, it gets really, really tough. Cody Leonard wins in the modifieds. Cody Leonard wins in the late models. That dude just continues to do really, really well. Edward Oaks wins in the limited modifieds. Of course, USRA out there. Colin Hodges in the factory stocks over GW Hessong and Triton Temple. Street stocks, Jarrett Barber. That Barber name, they win again. And then the dwarf cars, it is Casey Smith. Loaded pits again over at Texana.
It's amazing how they keep getting as many cars as they do down there. It's a great facility. Owen is a really good promoter, likewise, but it just amazes me the number of cars that they get and continue to get. Mm-hmm. And it's the cars that continue to go back that end up, it's a full pit. And we're starting to see it all over the place. Cotton Bowl had a good amount of cars.
Yeah.
We've seen it down at South Texas when they've had a good field of cars down there. So it's really good to see all the racetracks. I think we said it best that when we got back from the break, we got back from the pause of COVID and finally got to go back to the racetrack. We said it best when you ended up having to have the not taking anything for granted. Right?
Sure.
That's the thing. Not taking anything for granted. You get to go back and you get to enjoy race day.
Yeah.
And so that's a good problem to have in terms of being able to just have I think that the pits have been happier. I think that the racers have been a little bit more open. And I think that's what's led to such a positive end to 2020.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You mentioned Cotton Bowl. Great show there as well. As we said, that track was just unbelievable. I mean, that right there, I mean, that was almost asphalt smooth. I mean, I was joking with some people afterwards. I'm like, man, now that was almost asphalt smooth. That was beautiful. Taylor Stewart, we'll talk to her here in just a little bit. She wins in the compacts. Will Arnold in the street stocks again. Just so good as Will Arnold in that 7A. You got G.W. Egbert in an amazing iStock. Man, that dude has got him some kind of piece right there. Factory stocks, Don Painter wins. There was a tech thing there, but Painter finishes second, finally gets that win there. And Sport Mod, it's James Honish. Honish had never won at Cotton Bowl. He's won national, Sport Mod championships and so forth, and he just never had been able to put it together. He wins that one, and in the modifieds, Chris Morris wins in a thriller over our man Raymond McSpadden. McSpadden leads every damn lap, damn near, but the last one. And man, hate that for Raymond. Love it for Morris, but man, hated that for Raymond. That was Raymond's race.
It was Raymond's race to lose, and I guess he ended up losing it. But there's lots and lots of just good stories and good racing. You see it all over. You saw it down at Texana. You saw it at Cotton Bowl. And there was a lot of people going live, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's another sore subject about that. Just remember, if you try to go live, be respectful to the management. Don't go live all night. That kind of takes away the point of having to have a speed pass.
Yeah.
But, don't go live all night. You may a highlight here and there might be coming in handy, but I know I for sure saw lots of races on the Facebook live feed. So
it happens. See a lot of phones. See a lot of phones going in. I mean, everybody's a cameraman, so no, it is what it is. That's a tough one to get over. But
back in the day, that used to only happen to celebrities, people with phones that leaked.
Yeah. Great point. Derek Scott was coming, and that was those modifieds so fast. I mean, it's beautiful to watch those guys and ladies get after it in the modifieds. Just really good stuff. Arkham Menard Series in Winchester. Ty Gibbs wins for the fifth time. Ty Gibbs over Michael Self, Brett Holmes, Jesse Love, and Taylor Gray. Ty Gibbs, I don't know. What do you think of Ty Gibbs?
I heard the interview, and they did the interview with him at the road course there at Daytona right after it rains, and he said something to the effect that, he said, and it's funny, these ARCA interviews, the more you watch him and listen to him, he used the term butthurt. He said he thinks I'm a spoiled, most people think I'm a spoiled rich kid who thinks I get butthurt when I lose, and he says, it's not that I'm butthurt, it's just that I don't like to lose.
Yeah.
And I just think it was funny just the way that he was, he's being honest. You can tell he was a young kid. Most of your PR reps are going to tell you not to use the word butthurt in an interview, but he did okay, and he's growing. I think he's got the worst problem to have is he's got the heritage of Joe Gibbs. So he could be driving for somebody that's not even remotely close to Joe Gibbs, and they're going to say, he's only getting there because he's Joe Gibbs' grandson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. We talked about Braden. Travis Braden wins that fall brawl, and he led 98 of 100 laps in that race. And Travis Braden, we've had him on this program before. Just a great interview. We talked about Jacqueline. Jacqueline had him on just a little bit earlier. But what I like about Braden, that's a self-made man right there, and kind of living the dream right there. He lives. They just him and Jess Ballard. They just kind of. They travel the country. I mean, they're living the ultimate life there, motorhome life, just kind of doing their thing. And that's good for him to get to Victory Circle. And, hopefully he gets himself a really, really good snowball program put together, betters the program where he needs it to be for that snowball. See if he can go back and defend that title. I'd like to see him win this year outright.
I think that's his goal when he gets down there is to win outright. But I also think that that he's made the decision when he left his other team to come with this new team. A lot of people were second guessing him. Why are you going to leave this team? You got yourself a nice ARCA ride. I really think it depends on the drivers, right? Is it better to have a top tier super late model ride, or is it better to have a mid pack ARCA ride?
That's where so much has changed, and we've talked to guys on this show before where you can now really, really make a good. Guys are satisfied. The guys are content with having a super late model career. There are guys that are content with having a pro late model career, for crying out loud. But you've got guys like Bubba Pollard and Stephen Nasi and all of these guys where they're very happy with what they're doing. Given the opportunity, I'm sure that they would jump. Obviously, you want to get to NASCAR. There's no doubt about it. But I think at the same time, you want to get to ARCA, to NASCAR, to NASCAR Western. We talked to Gracie in just a little bit. You want to get there, but you want to be competitive. It would be hard to leave something where you're ultra competitive and super late model and go and underperform because of your equipment.
I think that happens a lot. We've seen it in all levels of sports. We see it everywhere from somebody moving up from a street stock to a super stock and not have the resources to go, much less moving in from a competitive super late model team. And when we say competitive super late model team, that to me, I think we both have different definitions of that. To me, a competitive super late model team is when you show up and there's a handful of guys that has a chance to win and you're a handful of one of those guys. That's generally not named Bubba Pollard or Stephen Nasi.
Right. Yeah, that's the cream of the crop right there. And we've got guys like Casey Roderick that I would think we haven't asked him this because we haven't had him on here since all of that happened. But he was really, really good with Ronnie Sanders. He was really, really good, but not quite good enough. And then he got to beat those guys. Then he got a taste of it with Donnie Wilson, where he was really good. He was really good. And then he makes a change. He's got his own team right there, and he comes out of the box really good. And of course, that championship night has been postponed, obviously at Five Flags. So to see him fire off again, I'll be curious to see. But yeah, it's 3 or 4 guys right there that are just heads and tails above everybody.
Yeah, lights out is the upper echelon there. So I think it's hard. Obviously, Bubba is the stepping stone in which everybody compares themselves to, but it's somewhat hard with the success that he's able to have. But a competitive super late model team is one of those teams that can show up with your handful of guys, whether it be one handful to your top 6 or 7 guys. But it's different if you go from one of those to just a mid-tier ARCA team. Yeah, because ARCA has live TV. ARCA has some good events. But to me, I'm just not quite sure ARCA had what it used to have, once had. I think right now it's more of a development series. The problem is that the older guys that are in that series run 4 or 5 laps down almost all the time. Yeah,
that's the thing. Names that you when you think ARCA, some of those names that you see there, yeah, they're not they're not anywhere close. It's all the younger drivers, and now you got the team development. I remember back in the days when you had Bob Schatt and all these guys that would run in ARCA, and they were self-sufficient teams. But now you've got the Gibbs presence, and you've got all of these different ones. And here, when we talk to Gracie, she's with Bill McAnally, and when you think of these ARCA West teams and all of this, even back when they ran at Thunder Hill, it was Bill McAnally racing, and it's definitely it's a different landscape now. And of course, ARCA's not what it was before. You had ARCA, you had the Automobile Racing Club of America, but now you've got ARCA West, ARCA East, and it really is. It's a training ground, I think, Bobby, not only for drivers, but teams go in there to test their stuff. I mean, they're learning in that series.
I think so too. I think obviously it's not just for the drivers, but it's a development for everybody. Even more so than the Xfinity series. I think you start grooming your guys in the ARCA series to see how they respond and see how they end up under pressure, different kind of stuff. That's what they're doing with Gibson down there. Not a better place to put him than maybe a top tier super late model team. But why, when the money's almost the same, why don't you end up running an ARCA program, which you could have we've heard different things. You could have a competitive ARCA program for a couple of $1 million.
Yeah, no doubt about it. 4-year anniversary, 4th birthday yesterday of the Revved Up Sports Show. Thank you all for checking in on a historic night. Wait till we turn 5.
The big 5-0.
Maybe when we turn 5, we'll be able to have a remote.
Maybe.
Possibly. That would be 2021, so we'll see what comes about there. ARCA CRA series over in Toledo, the Glass City 200. Carson Hocevar. I mean, that's another name there. Carson Hocevar handily wins there over Sammy Smith in one of the KBM cars, and there's so much young talent. We talked about on the Saturday show about the Xfinity series where they have developed their own identity, where they've got all of these young guys that are really, really good, and where are you going to put them? And speaking of that, congratulations to the Watermelon Man, to Ross Chastain. We talked about that on Saturday. He gets the nod in the 42, and I think that Chip Ganassi is not going to regret that. Chip knows that.
Well, Chip likes winners, and obviously Ross, despite the fact he's had 6 second-place finishes so far in the Xfinity Series, he's been proving that he is a winner and a hell of a driver. Obviously, we picked that out last year as the 2019 Russ Driver of the Year. Universal pick, by the way. And so it was good, the way they announced that today. It was so funny how that it's like he almost fell under the radar. Everybody thought it was instantaneously going to be Bubba Wallace's ride to lose, and it may have been. But I think Ganassi has made the right choice, and somebody that he's invested in with Ross Chastain was going to spend the whole Xfinity Series team with whole Xfinity Series year with him here in 2010. Or was it this year or last year? When did that deal fall apart? Last year?
Yeah, year before.
The DC Solar deal.
Yeah.
So he was committed to him for 1 year, but I think Ross Chastain, out of all the silly season seats, I think he's in the right spot. That should have been his seat for all along. Really should have been his before they put Matt Kenseth in it.
Yeah. From Russ Nation, have a live remote at the Holiday Inn after the races at HMP. Man, that one would have to be. I don't know where we would put that. I mean, it could be on Facebook, but when you worry about getting stuff shut down, I don't know if it would get shut down. I guess as long as we didn't play copyrighted music, Lord knows we'll get in trouble for that enough. But whew. That could be a good one.
That could be a full throttle edition of the Red Dot Sports Show there at the Holiday Inn.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that would be something. I may do that at some point, But of course, the hard part would be, I think the hardest part of that would be, number one, to engineer the damn thing to keep it on the air, and number two, with moonshine and everything. Yeah, that would be very interesting. So yeah, we'll see. You never know. You never know. Hey, don't forget, you've got the Gary Merrill Memorial coming up this Saturday over at HMP with the Texas Short Track Racing Series. $7,000 to win for the modifieds, and depending on weather conditions along that coastline, could have some invaders in for that one. $7,000 to win there, and I believe it's a couple thousand there for the trucks again. So, and
big money for the Outlaws too.
Big money for the Outlaws, and man, I'm glad they got the that truck race just wouldn't stop giving, would it?
No.
Gosh.
Even after the checkered flag, it kept giving and giving.
I think it's still giving. I think it's still giving. But thank goodness that all worked out. And good night there. But hopefully all of that is all not put to bed. But hopefully all of that is figured out. And it's funny when you get a situation like that. That's really a situation where we talk about racetracks working together. You get a situation like that, and that's kind of where racetracks are forced to work together because you've got stuff happening that are affecting both of them, and I think that open line of communication is now there.
Well, hopefully. Probably should have been there a little bit more. Instead of just being the cans, right? Where you remember when you're a little kid, you connect the coffee cans with the strings. I don't know what these younger kids probably have no idea what the hell we're talking about, but that was the line of communication that was there. Now the line of communication seems to be a little bit more hard-lined. between there and Pensacola. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Hopefully, it would just open up the door for more interaction between both racetracks.
I think those are things where, as unfortunate as all of that was, and the confusion and the what ifs and just everything that happened there, I think it's a situation where it definitely helps everything big picture, the whole landscape of all of that. For one thing, the Truck Series, and it goes without saying. I mean, I said it that night, and other people echoed it. I'm sure you said it and echoed it as well. Is, when you get to Pensacola, when you get to Ricky Brooks and all of those guys, I mean, some of those events that they have right there, it trucks probably don't get under the radar and don't get on the operating table quite the way that they were doing at a $10,000 to win race at Houston. And I think that's where fortunately, I think that this has been figured out, fortunately and unfortunately for the folks involved in that situation. But I think that's where it's a good thing that it did get figured out at some point.
Yeah, I'm like you. I think that it will end up being a good thing long term. I think short term, if you're one of the trucks that was affected short term, you're not going to like it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's perfectly normal. If something doesn't go your way that really is out of your control, then yeah, that would be something that I could understand being upset about that.
Sure.
Totally get it, totally understand. But in terms of the line of communication being open, I think now that it opened up a door. It opened up a can of worms, but not the bad kind of can of worms. I don't think. More like it opened up the thing of SpaghettiOs,
mm-hmm.
and not everybody likes SpaghettiOs, but a lot of people eat enough SpaghettiOs that opening up that can didn't end up being as bad as what everybody thought it was going to be.
That's good. I like that. I do like SpaghettiOs too.
I don't.
I do like them.
I don't get the ones with the little meatballs in them anymore because there's no telling how old the meatballs are when you get inside there. But
I like that. That's good. Man, 4 years, and that's one of the best kind of correlations right there. I mean,
it really is.
That's good. I mean, it really does make sense.
Enough people like SpaghettiOs and have eaten it before that it's one of those, if you opened up the new can, it's probably going to end up being good enough for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that definitely happens out of this, it strengthens both tracks. Ooh, that's a lot to say. Makes both tracks better in the sense where when it comes to tech stuff, where... and again, I don't know how all of this may have happened, but maybe it eliminates some of the copy and paste stuff to where it's like, these are the rules. These have always been the rules. I mean, I remember, years ago, I would read the rules, for the street stocks or hobby stocks or whatever we may have run in. And I would see, no gun drilled main transmission shafts and all of that. And really never knew what that meant. Never asked. I knew it was something that we weren't doing. And I think that that's something where over the years it was always there and you just took it and you threw it in there. But now, as everything has developed and everything that has evolved and technology's there and there's different ways to do this, where now you really go back and you read your rules and you pull crap out of there that really doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, I think everybody double took the rules after that.
Yeah. So hopefully that's what's going to happen there, and we'll continue to follow that. But there is racing in Houston coming up on Saturday, so get yourself out there. So speaking of Houston area, we've had a lot of really, really good racers that have made their way from that area that are doing really, really cool things. And we're going to the Revved Up Sports Show hotline. We have one of them on the line right now. It is Miss Gracie Trotter. Gracie, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
We are doing pretty well. How's the weather? Where are you? Are you in North Carolina?
Yes, I'm in North Carolina right now. And actually, it's pretty nice. This week it started to get a little bit colder. So it was in the 40s and 50s today. So it kind of felt good to have a little bit of some chilly weather here since it's been pretty hot and rainy and humid.
Nice.
All right, Gracie, so we know a little bit about your backstory because obviously we do a little bit of show prep, but there's nobody that can tell the story about how you got to where you are better than yourself. So for the listeners that might be hearing your name for the first time, or I might have heard your name rumble through the circles, so to speak, talk about how you got started. We know you got the Texas connection.
Yeah, for sure. So my dad raced, and so did his father. So my dad started racing in Texas, around the Houston area, actually. He grew up going to the racetracks there. And then when he was around 21 years old, he decided he wanted to, try to go after this whole racing career and pack up everything and move to North Carolina. So he ended up doing that, and it just didn't work out for him because he didn't have the sponsorship to get him to the next level. So he started up Calico Coatings here in Denver, North Carolina. So he also did the All-American Driver Challenge, and he had a couple USAC midgets and a late model stock that he raced out here. So I grew up going to the racetrack about every weekend with him, and when I was around 5, 6, 7, I was begging him to take me racing. I was actually the trophy girl a couple times out at Concord Speedway for the USAC midget stuff and the Bandolera and Legend cars. So I was like, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go try racing. So finally, when I was around 7.5, almost 8 years old, he's like, okay, well, we'll go out to the go-kart track and we'll try it out. So we went down to Kershaw, South Carolina at Carolina Motorsports Park and rented a couple go-karts, and he went out with me and he spun me out one time just to see how I'd handle it. And he said that, I don't really remember it much, but he said he came up to me and I was covered in dust and dirt, and I said, hey, let's go do it again. That was fun. So not too long after that, he bought me a go-kart, and we went go-kart racing. And from then on out, here we are, still racing.
Goodness. I love that. Oh, my goodness. I love that. That is what it's all about right there. So Gracie, talk about the North Carolina environment. I mean, we here in Texas, it's like, hey, you know, we have our racing and whatever, but you guys, North Carolina, man, that is just I want to be in North Carolina. Just talk about it. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing here, though, they don't have as good of brisket as y'all do in Texas, so I do miss that. That's my favorite part about going to Texas, the brisket and banana pudding. So I always have to get that. Oh, can't forget the Whataburger either.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So I do. Sometimes I like Texas a little bit better than North Carolina, so forth and so forth. But yeah, here in North Carolina, it's just a whole different kind of racing world. Like anywhere you go, I go out to lunch or go to the store, you always see someone in racing. The whole state around, you know, this area, Lake Norman, Charlotte area, it's all racing people you see everywhere. So I feel like that's like the biggest thing out here.
Nice. That's awesome.
Well, good luck finding brisket out there, because my cousins, my uncle lives in Lake Wiley, and I got some other cousins that live outside of Charlotte, and their thing is that when they come to Texas, they don't like the Texas brisket because they're so used to eating all the they're so used to eating all the pigs out there. And so that's the other problem. And Carolina's got some good barbecue, but it's usually more pigs. It's when you got to come to Texas where you get all the cows, get the real brisket out here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, can't beat the Texas brisket.
That's right.
Even the barbecue, I do like better too.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's a good problem to have. So let's talk about the development of. Actually, I really wanted to talk about those old USAC little cars because a Texas Connection, Bradley Reithmeyer used to drive those little things out there. I remember helping him out for that. But talk about the progression of you. Like you talked about when you wanted to race the go-karts there when you were 7 or 8 years old and you got the bug and it just didn't go away. What was the progression for you in terms of, was it one of those you just wanted to go to the top as fast as you could, or are you one of those smarter drivers that really is taking it as much as you can, learn step by step, series by series, race by race?
Yeah, it was definitely, me and my dad were kind of just doing it for fun. You know, we didn't really expect it to go anywhere. Me and him were just having fun going racing on the weekends. Mm-hmm. And at first he was a little bit hard on me, trying to push me because, you know, he used to win all the time. So he wanted me to go win right away. Well, you know, I wasn't too good yet when I first started. So then he realized that and he taught me and told me how to make it as fun as we could. So he's like, just make sure you're having fun every time you go out there. So he made it a lot of fun for me, and that's the number one thing he taught me, to always make this fun. Mm-hmm. So we kind of just never really expected it to go anywhere. We were just having, you know, dad and daughter time on the weekends. And then a couple of other kids who raced with us started racing bandoleros out at Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord. So we're like, oh, we never really looked much into that, never really heard too much about it. And so we looked into it and we were like, oh, let's try that out. So we did the bandoleros and I ended up winning, I think, 8 races my first year of that, or 10. And so we were like, okay, let's move up to a legend car. So we did that pretty quick.
Yeah.
And did really good in the legend cars and did that for a couple years. And then in end of 2016, we get a call from a couple of guys at Toyota wanting me to come out and test one of a late model in California just to see how I did and stuff. So it kind of all happened in that pretty quick time span of things kind of jumping at me with the late models. So I was only in legend cars for a few years before we started racing late models. So I did super late models starting in 2017 with Bond Suss, which was my first year fully in the Toyota Racing Development Program. And I did 5 races that year, and then the next year in 2018, I did a full season of that. And sort of at the end of the year, we were talking about, the next couple years, what it's going to look like, maybe heading up to K&N, which it was K&N last year, or ARCA. Mm-hmm. And so we knew the late model stock cars, they're the truck arm cars, so they're a little bit more like the ARCA cars. So we kind of started putting our feet in that a little bit. And my dad had his old late model stock from when he did the All-American Driver Challenge back in the early 2000s. So we actually pulled that thing out of the garage and put it back together again. And same body as it was on, I think, 12 years ago. It was the last time they replaced that body on it.
Damn.
So we call her Ancient Orange, and we raced it a few times last year, and we were one spot short at the Fall Brawl last October with it. So it ended up being a really good car once we got it figured out, and once I figured out late model stock. So now we're here racing ARCA cars with Bill this year, with Bill McAnally Racing. Went to their combine last year, and I ended up being one of the lucky drivers he chose to come race the 99 Ineos Toyota Camry for him. And then we're racing with Rev Racing for my second year in the late model stocks with the 5-star bodies Toyota Camry and the NASCAR Women All-American Series. And also I'm just raced my car for the first time, our new PRW chassis last week, and won. So that was awesome at Hickory. And then we're going there in a couple weeks for the Fall Brawl again. And instead of coming in second, we're going to go win the thing. So
hell yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
There it is.
Nice. I love it. I was going to ask you about that. So you win there in the late model stock cars, and you pick up that win. And how cool is it to win at a place like Hickory? I mean, it's the first win is always sweet, but to win in a late model stock car at that place, that had to have been just amazing.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was awesome. Like, I've always wanted my first win to be at Hickory. My dad's grown up there racing there, and he's told me so many stories about it. That was the track. Hickory and Concord Speedway were the 2 tracks I grew up going to all the time. So I have pictures from when I was 10, 8, 9 years old of me at Hickory with Bradley when he used to race the midgets and the late model. So it's really, really cool to, be able to win there where my dad used to race and Bradley used to race there all the time. So it was awesome. But it was a little weird with no fans up in the stands getting to cheer you on. But we still had a couple of fans up sitting on the hill. So even though it was a little weird because of that, but it was pretty awesome to win at Hickory.
I love it.
So talk about the perception. Obviously, you're not the normal stereotype driver in a late model, being a young lady trying to work your way through there. You've been part of a couple of development programs. Do you get a lot of backlash from some of the other drivers, or are you been able to kind of just fit in and just become another one of the, quote unquote, one of the guys racing around in the racing circles?
Yeah, kind of like with the Toyota Racing Development. There's all like Todd Gillen, what used to be a part of it. Harrison Burton's still a part of it. Christian Eckes and a lot of those guys, but we all fit in pretty good together. Sometimes the boys get a little bit crazy over at the Toyota gym, but
of course,
but it's still everyone really gets along, and it's been great. Even over at Rev Racing, that's a different bunch of people, and we're always hanging out, going to lunch together each week, and just learning from each other, because lots of us, we come from different backgrounds. Lots of us come from, like my teammate over at BMR, some of them come from dirt, so I can learn from them on some of what they've learned and their experience, and then they come to me because I've raced with asphalt all my life and they haven't.
Right.
So we kind of lean on each other in those aspects, which is really cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about Rev Racing. I mean, I really think that I love diversity programs because it gives drivers like yourself that are better than many the opportunity to showcase yourself. I mean, how cool is that you're a part of that and able to put yourself in positions to have these great opportunities that have come about for you?
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be a part of it. I'm really grateful that they have opportunities like this for drivers. Just NASCAR wanting to build the sport more and bring in more people of different SSEs and bringing in more females into the sport and more from different races. So I think that's really cool that they give us the opportunity to do things like this that not many people get the chance to do. So it's really cool being able to be with them this is my second year and hoping to go into another year with them again next year. So it's been really cool doing that. And even with the Toyota Racing Development Program, they're doing the same thing, trying to get more females, minorities into the sport of NASCAR.
Yeah.
So, Gracie, what do you tell the little 5-year-old girl that watches you in the grandstands and she comes up to you and says, hey, I want to go racing? What's your advice to that little girl right there? What do you tell her to do?
Well, for me, what it was is, like I said at the beginning of this, that the advice my dad gave me was to always make it fun. So fun for me was the go-karts, obviously, but just to make sure that you're having the best of it and that you're passionate about it. So that you can do anything you can do that you put your mind to.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, that is beautiful. That's a beautiful thing right there. So the 99 car, I mean, Bill McAnally Racing, when you hear the name Bill McAnally Racing, I mean, that is one of always so good. Great equipment, great programs. Describe driving for Bill. I mean, that is a dude where top flight organization right there, has been for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Bill's definitely the best out on the West. Definitely rhymes there. I thought of that.
That's well done. That is well done.
So yeah, it's been great. It's funny to think, but I'm the oldest on the team.
Oh my goodness!
Out of all four of us. So
wow.
Yeah, it's been really cool being in the 99 Ineos car, and it's also orange, which is pretty funny because all my race cars have been orange growing up. So. Kind of a coincidence there, but it's been cool getting to adapt to a whole new team, a whole new level of racing for me. So it's been a little struggle, been a little hard for me trying to move up to the next step because it definitely is a different world, getting to experience all these new tracks, all these new places I've never been before, feels like I'm having to kind of start all over from, when I started racing late model stuff. So it's a whole process, and learning to work with a new team like I learned to work with my new team at Rev Racing a couple years ago. So it's kind of all starting over, but in a different aspect, and I already have kind of ideas of things. But it's been a really great year over there. We haven't finished worse than fourth, I don't think, unless we had something happen to the car. So it's been really good. We're third in points right now, and I'm looking to go get a win at Vegas this Saturday.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
So Gracie, you were talking about getting to know your team and stuff like that. Can you tell a difference in the racing between Carolina and California and the Southeast versus the Southwest? I mean, is there a big difference? Can you tell a different style of racing, or is it all just going around in circles?
I think the difference is just in the people. It's just like a whole different aspect of people. I'm not really sure how to explain it. It's just the East Coast versus the West Coast kind of people. Like, you'll see people here on the East Coast and stuff wearing boots and jeans to the racetrack, and then people in California will wear skinny jeans and Vans to the track. So it's kind of like a different, just aspect of different people. So I'm not really sure how to explain it. It's just, you kind of have to experience it for yourself. How it's just a little bit different, but yeah, it's kind of just the same with the racing part, just cars going around in circles, but I feel like it's just the people. And also in North Carolina, being on the East Coast, you have so much more to work with just all the race teams and parts places
I
being
bet.
here.
Yeah.
And in California, you don't really have all that. So it does make it harder for them out there
Yeah. Yeah.
to go racing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. That is a great point. So, sorry, Bobby, go ahead.
I think she's the first one that's ever used the phrase skinny jeans after all the 5 years of this show being
Yeah.
on. Skinny
Yeah.
jeans and race cars in the same sentence. I think you're the first one that's ever been able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt. That one
You'd
does.
be surprised. I've seen that a lot, especially when we've raced in Vegas and California areas.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Whew. You don't see a lot of that at HMP. Well,
No.
There are
Hey,
some.
I'm
some.
hoping maybe ARCA could be there one day.
Well, we've got folks posting on here that if you're available at some point, that they'll find you a modified ride. You can run a modified.
Oh, really?
You ever run a modified before?
I tested a modified at Colorado National Speedway 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and it was one of the most fun things I've ever done.
Same
Yeah.
kind
It was on
of.
the 8-inch. Is on the 8-inch treaded tires.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
Same exact setup in Houston.
Absolutely. Well, stay tuned. Stay tuned. You may get some messages there. So for you said it. You're sitting third right now in points right there. Rest of the season. I mean, obviously you want to pick up a win at Vegas, but man, to just talk about it, it's been so fun to follow along and watch you just ultra competitive all the time. And you pinch yourself at any point and say, man, this is badass.
Oh yeah, all the time. Like when me and my dad, we were at Phoenix at the beginning of the year, and even at Iowa, like all the racetracks, I look at him, I'm like, Dad, do you ever think we would have been here? Like even
Wow.
this soon? Like, do you ever think that? It's pretty cool because last year at the ARCA race, and they also had the truck race at Phoenix in November, me and my dad were there in the stands, and then we were there in March racing. So I was like, man, this is so cool. We have to pinch each other all the time and say, dang, we're actually here. So it's really cool to see that and, have my dad by my side through it all.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I always ask folks, and we'll cut you loose here in just a little bit. Sorry, it's like, man, questions are just coming in now. We're just thinking. So like for you, I always ask young folks on the program. It's like so with your dad. So with Tracy, how is it? Is it the fine line between him being your dad and being somewhat of a racing coach to you, because he was really good at it himself? Is there a fine line there, or I mean, do you guys? Is there some back and forth? Are there times where you're like, just get away from me, or what's the dynamic there for you guys?
Yeah, usually most of the time, like he's been there, taught me everything on and off the track of things and teaching me so many life lessons, but sometimes I'll be frustrated and he'll tell me something. I'll be like, just get away. Like, I don't want to hear it. But then I think about it. I'm like, okay, he probably is right. He usually is right most of the time, so I better listen to him. So he'll take me on track walks even when I don't want to, if I'm frustrated. And I'm like, okay, maybe you were right. I'll listen to you. So he's usually right about everything. He was a pretty good racer himself, so I always try to take as much advice as I can get from him.
Well, as a father, I'm going to put that soundbite in my phone. Thank you for that. I'll play that for my daughters and say, listen. Well done.
You just like the part where she said that the dad was always
he was right.
Yeah, that's exactly what that
need.
was going to be.
That's what I need.
So one last question before we let you go. So what's next for you? Where do you see yourself in 4 to 5 years, looking in the crystal ball? What do you see what's next for you as you try to make your way up the racing ladder?
Yeah, for sure. So, like, for next year, we're hoping to do some more ARCA stuff, probably ARCA West again. So I'm not really sure what that is. Toyota's really been backing me a lot, and so is Rev Racing. So we're still trying to figure out what our plans are, and we're looking 2-3 years ahead on that. So there's so much stuff going on with now COVID-19 affecting a lot of things. So we're kind of stuck in holes right now trying to figure things out. But where I want to be is, a couple more years of ARCA, maybe just, to get more of the fundamentals down and win a couple races before I could start doing some truck racing stuff. So maybe in the next couple or few years, do some more ARCA, start racing some more ARCA Menard stuff at the bigger tracks, getting some wins there, and then eventually moving up to trucks within 4 or 5 years, I'm hoping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great plan, and I love that. I mean, because so many folks, it's like they get rushed into opportunities, and it just doesn't work out. I mean, simply because it happens too fast. So I think that progression is super important. So yeah, great, great head on your shoulders. That helps as well. Man, Gracie, thank you for the time. This has been super cool talking to you, and we'll
thank you.
Yeah, we'll be following along there Saturday. Let's go win. So if you win, and we always tell people because it's happened. If you win Saturday, I'm going to be bugging you Sunday, so you got to come back on and talk about
it. All right, sounds good to me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, and good luck, and keep killing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet. Take care. Gracie Trotter, man, that's good stuff right there, man. She's that's a real deal. That's a real deal.
She's definitely got her head on her shoulders. That's good. You know, the young kids always want to talk about just coming in and running rough shot and try to move up as fast as they can. Yeah. And I like that she had it was a good 4 to 5 year plan, really, is what it ended up turning out to be. So that's I don't know, man. That was a cool interview, good perspective. And I like the fact that the first thing she talked about was how damn good Texas barbecue is. That was the best part about that.
And, I forgot to tell her. I was going to mention it, so hopefully if she catches this or I'll message her because, our friends over at Kreitz Market, they deliver. They ship. So, Gracie, if you're still listening to this, we can get you some of the best stuff. All you got to do is throw it in the oven, and it'll be like being here in Texas. So, have to message her that and get that to her. Who knows? Kreitz Market may be on one of her cars.
Well,
could work out.
Seen it happen before.
It has happened before. Just great conversation there with her, and I just love. I mean, that talks. I mean, our sport right there. You've got a dad and his daughter, and they're doing what they love, and she's when she was talking about their season, man, they have been spot on since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, that ARCA program to be third in points out there with this, with this challenging. You think it's been challenging out here to get race dates?
Yeah.
Man, been challenging out there. I like what she said too. When she talked about it was weird winning without the fans. You got to hear a few fans. Mm-hmm. That's such a change. Like I guess it'd be weird for us. I mean, if there was no fans, there really wouldn't be a need for us to be at a racetrack to announce. But yeah, I guess they do have PA announcers at some of the empty ballparks just to have it as kind of a normalcy kind of thing. But it was cool. That was a good interview because she's so self-aware, I think is the right word. You just get some of these kids with the tunnel vision and an endless pocket of cash, and all they want to do is be the next Jeff Gordon and pop right up there and try to just make it to the very top of the NASCAR levels. And a lot of times those kids crash and burn out.
Yeah, and I mean that all goes back to with athletes and just young people in general. When you see when you hear or get to talk to people like that and they have their stuff in line and they have the right perspective on life and goals and opportunities and all of that. I mean, that starts at home. And I mean, absolutely right there. I mean, you can tell the closeness there where she talked about with her dad. I mean, you can tell that upbringing was that's where it all starts. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can look at it as parents. We can look at ourselves, when a lot of times when a kid fails, it's like, oh man, you trail it back. But they've done everything right there, and that young lady is on a fast track to the top. And just that plan there. Haley Deegan is the same situation where obviously there's situations where they could fast track her into doing whatever, but she doesn't want to do that. I mean, a lot of that, Deegan was in the Toyota program there as well for a long time, and it was the same thought process where she would stay there for a little bit, and that's still the plan, even with being with Ford. And I like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that because you look. Let's take Danica Patrick for example. If we're going to talk about ladies that have raced, and the knock on her was, well, she shouldn't be in there, blah blah blah. She didn't have the experience. 1 year of with Junior Motorsports, and boom, she's driving for SHR, and that's something that still haunts her now. When you think of her legacy, but the way that what Gracie's doing there, that's going to make her even better when she gets to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the way that she's been able to stay grounded and be able to learn. I like the part where she talked about, even though she's the oldest member of that team over there on the West Coast, that she is working. She knows not only is she part of a driver development program, she seems self-aware of the driver development within her
Yeah.
own team.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's missing. It doesn't seem like she's very selfish in the fact that she's trying to make the team better as a whole, even if that means that she has to share knowledge and even, share the resources over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love how she's, I'm the oldest one.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Yeah, that doesn't make you feel old at all.
No,
does it?
no,
not at all.
that tells you right there. Speaking of age there, so we're talking to Gracie. I mean, Gracie's done her time there, and she's worked her way up. And what I like about Gracie is you can tell when she's talking about everything she's done there, she's worked her way up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's she's had great opportunities. The Rev racing program is exceptional, and that helps. But you got to start them young. And you've got racing families, the Trotters racing family. Got to see something on Saturday night where there was another young lady that goes to victory lane in the Sport Compacts, and super cool to watch. So close to last time, puts it all together this time. Taylor Stewart joins us on the Revved Up Sports Show hotline. Taylor, how are you?
I'm good.
So are you still as excited as you were on Saturday night?
Oh yeah.
So talk about your first season there. Obviously, anytime you break into your racing career, there's been a few ups and few downs. Talk about your season so far. Obviously, we know that it just started getting not real good with the win, but talk about your season, how it's gone up to this point.
It's gone up and down a lot. It's like every few races I'd get like a good finish, and then I'd end up being like towards the beginning of the season, I had like just like a little tap on the wall kind of, and it really messed me up because I never like really had any like contact with anything.
Yeah.
And so it just messed up my whole vibe. But
Yeah.
I got back into it once I started like getting more up towards the front, and I've been real hesitant on passing cars, but now I've kind of like figured it out a little bit more. So it's getting a lot better than it was.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So for you, I mean, I've been friends with your dad forever. I mean, we used to do bad things together, but talk about just you were raised around racetracks, and your mom, Chrissy. I mean, you don't know anything other than racing. It's just kind of in your blood.
Yeah, I'm fifth generation. So it's been around since I was little. Ever since Grammy had a Thunder Hill and stuff. Used to go there all the time. And I never really got into it until a few years ago. And it's because I just fell in love with the dirt.
Yeah, no doubt.
So Taylor, I will say one of the things that makes it easier for you when you get the first scratch on the car, the first dent on the car, and the first time you sideswipe somebody. That was the turning point for me when I put the first scratch on the high five. That's when I knew it was okay, that it was going to take a beating and keep on going. So don't worry about slapping that wall. Everybody hits the wall every now and then.
Yeah. The first time I got like a scratch on my car was actually with my dad. It was out like on a practice day.
Yeah.
At Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
And I was already really tired, and we went out and practiced, and I had spun my car, and he was driving someone else's car like mine, and he ran into the side of me, and I wasn't crying because it hurt. I was crying because it messed up my wrap.
Oh my God. God damn it, Heath. That's awesome. Oh my God. I love that. So let's talk about how is it racing with Rowdy? I mean, that's you guys have kind of been the ones out there. You had a heck of a race a couple weeks ago, back and forth, but talk about racing with old Rowdy Chenard. How is that?
It's fun. He's definitely competition. I've been trying to get up there with him a little bit more. And try not to be as try not to be as hesitant at getting closer and closer, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's fun racing with him. I mean, he races pretty clean, so that's good. And he's pretty nice too, so.
Well, he was. Now you beat him. Now you beat him. Now let's see what he does.
Yeah, thank you. It's fun. It's a lot, but there's some. Sorry, my mind went blank. But
No, that's okay. That's all right.
Happens to us all the time.
All the time. I'll tell you, Taylor, if you have the Facebook feed going on, if you're listening to the Facebook feed, there's a delay, so it's going to throw you off. It'll throw you off a little bit.
So Taylor, talk about the relationship with your grandma there. Obviously, you guys are really close, and she loves racing too. Talk about the relationship you have with your grandmother.
It's fun to have her around, especially on race days and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We butt heads a lot. We're just too much alike. But it's when I first decided I wanted to race, it was kind of iffy with her because she liked when I did the trophy girl.
Yeah.
And so she was kind of like, she had to find some more people.
So it's funny you say that. So we just had Gracie on, Gracie Trotter. She's racing in the ARCA series. She had the same start. She started as trophy queening, and then she said, "No, I got to race." Is that what happened to you?
Yeah, it was more like I would watch my dad.
Yeah.
And it's like when I would watch my dad, it's like, oh, that looks fun. And I started like going down to the shop a little bit and helping him kind of and just kind of observing. And the more that I was at the racetrack, the more I wanted to be on the racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good soundbite right there.
I love that. I love that a lot.
So what do you feel about it now? So now that you've been on the racetrack, do you still want to stay there? Do you want to go back to being the trophy girl? How does it start to become full circle for you now? I mean, is it as much fun as you thought? Is it harder than you thought? Is it exactly what you thought? What's your take on it now that you wanted to go from just watching it to being part of it?
It's definitely harder than I thought. When I first got in my car, like my first race was last October,
Mm-hmm.
and I got in my car thinking, oh, I'm going to win this. I thought I was going to win. And I ended up not doing too good, but I still was like, I didn't know my parents were going to like let me race this whole season.
Yeah.
So when they told me that, I was like, oh, I have to win at least once.
No.
So
yeah.
I finally did that.
Yeah.
But
and I have to tell you, it's so cool because when I'm up there announcing, like your mom is usually in the booth next to me for the heat race. She's usually there, or then she'll go down like right in front of where I'm calling the races, and it's like she's trying to help you drive. So who gives you? Because you come from, I mean, your mom's family and obviously your dad's. That's two really, really great racing families. Who gives you the better advice, Chrissy or Heath?
oh, definitely my dad.
That's good.
My mom is just kind of like, she knows racing, but not like my dad does. So she'll try to tell me something, and it just confuses me. But when my dad tells me something, he makes it make sense.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to thinking and like thinking about things, I'm more similar to my dad.
Yeah.
We have to kind of break it down a little bit. And she just says it, and it kind of just throws me off. But when Dad does it, he kind of explains everything.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's awesome.
So talk about the relationship with your dad. We've covered your relationship with your grandma. And let's talk about the relationship with your dad. Obviously, have you got to that point? We asked Gracie the same thing. Did you get to the point to where your dad was no longer like your driving coach? Does he still be dad, or does he become driver's coach? Do you guys butt heads over him being both or one or the other?
He's definitely both. He definitely, like, if something happens, he goes in full dad mode.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, when he's coaching me, it's kind of like he's, like, it kind of goes from, like, father-daughter to kind of, like, coaching me a lot. But we butt heads a lot because I think I know everything.
I see
and
a
I
theme
hate
here.
when I'm wrong, and I hate when he's right.
Yeah. I see a theme here. So Taylor, walk us through, and all the folks that are listening, and boy, you got a lot of folks here that are excited for you. Walk us through that race. I mean, you take off and you're going, and that other car was coming, 91F, whatever it was. And I mean, I know that you don't know what's happening behind you, but like when you get towards the end of that race, you have to know that you're getting close. I mean, did your hands start shaking? I mean, you held that car just great car control. How were those final few laps for you when you're coming up and you're thinking, holy smoke, I'm about to win this damn race?
Well, when I didn't realize the race was like almost over, and so I saw there's 2 to go, and I was like, "Oh, don't mess up now."
Yeah.
And I past races, I always expect Rowdy. I see like the front of his car start coming up, and I can kind of feel it a little bit, and I was thinking, "Where's he at?" I was like, waiting for him to come up and pass me, but at the beginning of the race, it was kind of like, oh, I messed up, kind of, because I didn't realize we were going on the start.
Yeah.
So I kind of lagged back a little bit. But then once I got in front of everyone, I was kind of like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, you were gone. I mean, that car was kind of gaining some ground a little bit, but I mean, you were. I was watching, if you go back and watch a video, I was talking about the way that you would enter the corner and you would drift that car out. Man, that was just a really great job of hitting your marks and doing everything that you needed to do.
Yeah, my dad taught me. He said that's another thing he coached me is how to like go in the corners. But another thing he didn't really explain to me was passing people. So I had to figure that one out by myself. But I kind of got the racetrack kind of memorized in my brain a little bit.
Yeah.
So when the track's really good, it's kind of just a whole pattern for me.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. I mean, that's awesome.
So, Taylor, you said one thing that made Rodney and I both smile is that despite how long you have not been racing, you have come through and ended up saying that you said that you could feel the car beside you. And there are racers that we know that have been racing longer than you've been alive that all of a sudden will not take blame for an accident. Oh, I didn't see him. I didn't see him. I didn't know he was back there. That's got to be one of those to where like it was refreshing to hear that somebody that's as new into racing as you are, that you said that, yes, you could feel the car right beside you. And that's refreshing to hear from somebody with a little bit of racing experience.
Yeah, thank you. That's something my dad I get from my dad a little bit. My dad can kind of feel an accident before it's going to happen, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same for me. I'm kind of like, even when I'm watching cars, I kind of am like, oh, they're going to, like a lap before it's going to happen or something. But I can kind of like, especially the reflection off my visor on my helmet, I can see kind of the reflection of the car off the light, kind of.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like, oh, they're coming up on me a little bit.
Yeah.
And with our cars, they're really quiet. So it's kind of like I really have to kind of feel what's around me a little bit. Can't really hear around me. I just kind of have to like.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
So, Taylor, we got a question that somebody posted on the Facebook feed, and they want to know, do you work on your own car?
Well, sometimes I know how to drive the car.
That's right.
Working on cars is very, very new to me.
Yeah.
And with our class, it's really can't really work on it too much. It's kind of all
stock.
It's all stock and stuff.
Yeah.
But I can set my tire pressures, so that's a start.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. So I have to ask you, because I've grown up with all of your family. I saw that Marianne was out on the track when you got out of the car. What's the first thing she told you? I mean, I figured that she was going to tell you she was proud of you, but man, the smile on her face was like from the front straightaway wall all the way to the back straightaway wall when she came out to meet you.
She told me I did good, and she was so proud, and I'm pretty sure she was more excited than me. She came running in on the track with her heels on and stuff. And I was, Grammy's not really kind of like puts herself out there with all that.
Yeah.
And so when she came out there, it was like, whoa. And one of my sponsors, Baja John Alverson, was like telling her to go on the track and go over there. and so he kind of agged around a little bit to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. He does things like that.
Yeah, he never does that to anyone. Don't worry. Yeah.
So Taylor, obviously you race, and we'll let you. Thank you for the time, by the way. So what do you do? Obviously you race for fun, but I mean, what else do you do? I mean, you're a young kid. You're 15. I mean, what do you do for fun besides this?
Well, really, my whole life revolves around driving.
Nice.
Racing is like my weekend thing, and during the week I have this little trail I've made in my mom's yard, from the golf cart, and it's a little circle.
Yeah.
And I drive the golf cart around like it's a race car.
Yeah.
And I sit at home a lot.
Yeah. Well,
and I go shopping.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we're all kind of stuck at home these days. So what do your friends think of this? You know, you're a very attractive young lady, blonde-haired girl, and you tell them I race cars. What do they think about that?
It's kind of a shock at first, like,
I bet.
especially from when I went to school in Austin. You know, it's kind of like all these like city people, kind of.
Yeah.
And especially my teachers, they would ask me about it all the time. Like, I went back to school a couple weeks ago, and first thing teachers asked me is, "How's the race season going?" But it's kind of it's kind of hard to explain to them a little bit because they don't really know anything.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah.
kind of like you have to like explain a little bit about it, but they think it's interesting. I mean, I'm sure they think I talk about it too much because that's my whole world.
That's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you going to tell them about your first win when they say, is there any way you can put into words your first win? Can you put into words how cool your first win was?
I would probably be like, it was fun, but it was nerve-wracking the whole time.
I bet.
I felt like my mom up in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt, but except I wasn't jumping around everywhere.
She was definitely doing that. I can tell you, I was watching her. She was definitely doing that. I think I said that on the video there. So the rest of the season, we're getting down to it. You've got one final points night, and then you've got the Oktoberfest. Your thoughts? Just go out there and win them both. Is that what's on Taylor Stewart's radar right now?
It's definitely my goal, especially to win the Oktoberfest. They got a cool trophy, like last year's.
Yeah.
But I'd love to win again this weekend, but I'm not trying to get my hopes up too much because when I get my hopes up and something bad happens, it brings my whole mood down. So my mom keeps telling me, don't get too much confidence, but I'm kind of getting a little bit.
Yeah, well, you should.
As long as your helmet fits on your head, you're doing all right.
You should, and I mean, I don't want to. I mean, you kicked their ass the other day. That's a bottom line. So that's exactly what happened there. So yeah, absolutely. So what? You're doing this right now. I mean, thoughts moving forward? Maybe another season in the compacts, and what you thinking? What's the next couple of years for you?
Definitely another season or two in this class. But what I've thought about factory stocks a lot, but after sitting and waiting on them when I'm the race after them and waiting on them while they're on the track and all their cautions and stuff, it's kind of drifting away a little bit about that. But I really look up to my dad a lot. So I think it'd be really fun to race sport mods with him. So definitely in later years on.
Yeah.
Not super soon though.
Yeah. No, hell.
And I'm looking forward to visiting other tracks next season.
Nice.
Because really and truly, I've only been racing at Cotton Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went down to I-37 a couple weeks ago, but it was the rain had like delayed the race afterwards, so we didn't get to run the feature. But I struggled a little bit there, so when I got back to Cotton Bowl, it was kind of like refreshing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I heard about that race. That wasn't the best situation there at 37. Lastly, so you win this race and you're in tech and you have your first little incident with a competitor that was not the happiest. What are you thinking as you've just won and you've got this other guy jumping up and down and upset about whatever?
I was definitely confused because I was still in my car
Yeah.
and he was out of his car, and I didn't know what he was mad about. And I keep looking over at my friend, and I'm like, what is happening? And I look over at an official, it's happening. And I definitely have some very supportive sponsors like John Alverson, who was kind of getting on him, especially with Tiffany Vogel.
Yeah.
They were kind of getting on him. But I was just really confused the whole time. And I didn't really know what was happening until the races were kind of over.
Yeah.
But I kind of stayed out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't want any, like, it was definitely kind of, to be accused of, like, cheating after my first win was kind of like, oh. But it was kind of, it was a little disappointing because I wouldn't do that. But
No. It was totally stupid. But anyway, that's my opinion of that.
See, that's why you got to win twice, right? You win once to prove to yourself that you can win, and it's not a fluke, and then you win again, and then that shuts all the haters up. That's the best way you got to do it. See, it's always good to think about winning the first one, but it's even better when you end up winning the second one, because then nobody can tell you that it was that you were cheating, that it was a fluke, that nobody else was there. You won twice, and that's all that matters.
I definitely already feel like I kind of won twice because of the past race with Rowdy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the funnest race that I've had all season.
Yeah, I heard about. I missed that one. I did go back and watch it. So, how was it? How was it talking to Uncle Joe Spillman in the Craig's Victory Lane? That dude, or on the front stretch too. I mean, that's worth the win right there.
It was fun. I was definitely very nervous and had lots of adrenaline, but so I was kind of rambling off a little bit, rambling off my sponsors and stuff, Magnum Trailers and Direct Propane and Baja. But I just recently got a new sponsor too.
Nice.
It's a Bastrop RV Park. It's my Uncle Bobby Joe.
Oh,
he used to race asphalt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's definitely been telling me a lot. And he was kind of so I've heard, was an aggressive kind of driver. So he's kind of telling me,
Somewhat.
if they get in your way, you run straight into them, take them out. And I'm like, no, I keep it clean.
Yeah, Bobby Joe, the one-arm bandit. That dude, he won a lot of races. Got to grow up watching him. He was really, really good. But you got a good team there. Congratulations. I was excited. I was excited for you, for your mom, for your dad, for Marianne and H and everybody. It's been fun watching you, and congratulations, because I remember last year you would go out and hot lap after the races. I got to see you a couple of different times out there, but you were truly a great driver. I mean, congratulations on coming so far so fast.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We look forward to talking to you again. If you ever have any, sponsorship announcements, especially we get in the off season, you got a free Monday night, call us. We'll just talk racing. This has been fun. It's been a joy to talk to you.
All right. I'm going to thank my sponsors again real quick.
Sure.
Though.
Absolutely.
Baja and Magnum Trailers and Direct Propane and now Bastrop RV Park.
Nice. That is awesome.
All right. Thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. Take care, my friend.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. That was fun.
Refreshing, right?
I know. I love that, man. And that's I like how she just that's our sport right there. That's our sport. Our sport's in good hands with kiddos like that. Yeah,
her and Rowdy put on I got to watch a couple of the races myself, going back and watching them on Speed Pass, and it was some pretty entertaining racing. I started thinking I was going to ask her about it, but then I decided not to. Maybe she could follow Rowdy to Houston. Rowdy's taken his car to Houston a couple of different times, so maybe for the Oktoberfest down there at the end of October they can take the 14T, or is it 14T or T14?
I think this one is T14.
T14.
Yeah, I'd love to see her jump out there and get after it right there. And I mean, they've had some good payouts. There's been $500 eco stock winning races there. So I'd love to see Taylor, and I was so excited for her because I know that she's been disappointed in a couple of those races. And the race before, like I said, I didn't get to see it, but I saw it secondhand. And Spillman told me when I got there, he said, "Man," he said the race before, he's like, we interview the winners, but with the race that they had, you had to interview first and second, and that's good for those two kids. Good for those two kids because that's where you see the racing families. I mean, you've got Rowdy there and Taylor. So again, we're in good hands, and we're in good hands with the upper level stuff with Gracie. That's two really, really good interviews right there, and that's so cool. So cool.
Lots of fun. Not a better group of girls to have for our birthday show than the two we had. So thanks to another ladies' night, but this time a little younger ladies' night. That's okay.
Yeah, and again, thank you all. I mean, for 4 really, really good years, 4 more years. 4 more years. There will be more than 4. But thanks to everybody, because like when we started out, it was posted yesterday. Our first show, it started out, we were just going to do this for about 9 weeks and run through that particular year of the NASCAR playoffs and get all of that going. And to have folks that jumped on and would listen to the audio stuff and share that, and people started listening, and then we turn on the stupid camera phone and turn on the stupid camera phone, and you saw the wreck of a studio that we had back then, which it still is. It's just that on the front side, it doesn't look near as bad. But to have all of the folks that would share all of that, it's really amazing, Bobby, looking at it now, man. To get emails and messages from folks in North Carolina and California and Washington and all these different places that actually, time blocked to listen to this shit show. Couldn't say it on Saturday, but to listen to this, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
And then when we get to look at some of the downloads, where you get to see some of the various countries where we get the downloads, got a bunch from Germany, couple from Italy, and quite a few over in Japan, actually, which is what I surprised, assuming that it's a bunch of servicemen and women over there that are downloading the show. So wherever you get a chance to catch a show, send us a shout and let us know where you get it. info@revdupsportshow.com.
Yep. And keep sharing that. I see Teresa checks in there. Her daughter Kendall, birthday tomorrow. That is Miss Cotton Bowl Speedway. Happy early birthday to Miss Kendall. She does a great job riding in the back of that truck. I couldn't ride in the back of that truck, riding around on that pace lap. I'd fall over.
You got bad ankles.
I know. I got bad ankles and bad knees. But, it's been super exciting, and the show continues to progress. So, we've got the Saturday show, and, when we got to that, that's when it's like, okay, stuff's really starting to happen. And if this COTA thing pans out, I mean, it's really things that are helping, that are going to help racing all across the state. And I mean, it really is for us. I mean, I think that we need to hopefully involve ourselves more with things going on in North Texas. We don't really have a go-to person in North Texas. We've done a good job to incorporate asphalt and dirt and everything that we're doing, but I mean, just make it statewide. And that's really what the show is all about. To be, when we talk to Gracie and she's talking about North Carolina, and that's when I talk to folks in North Carolina and Jacqueline, it's like, we need to be like them, and I think we're the ones that can drive it to that point.
Yeah, I think we're getting there with just the exposure of Texas racing, getting Texas racing back on the map, where people in the Southeast and even in the Southwest can know that Texas is back. The racing, not so much the school. We'll find out in a couple of games whether or not Texas is really back, but.
Well, they'll be fine this week because the Texas Tech stud running back's in jail at the moment, so that'll definitely help them. But good weekend of football. How about them Dallas Cowboys, man? What?
Y'all's text messages got kind of quiet at the end of that game.
I was posting on Facebook about how I call it like it is. I mean, I love the Cowboys. I always have, and I said they sucked yesterday. But then at the end of the day, I said, well, my boys don't quit. Atlanta did, but the boys don't. It's a good
second biggest collapse in Atlanta football history.
My goodness, and how
first one was the Super Bowl.
And how about I saw some. Anyway, we'll get into Atlanta needs
the random stat about being the undefeated teams with 39, something like 432, something like that.
Yeah, it was like 400 and I think it was in situations like that. Now it's 401. My goodness, that's pretty bad. But yes, thank you all for being great fans of the program, whether it's audio or video. And seriously, just keep sharing this thing, and we'll continue to keep bringing you great guests. And I think this is a time where we need to think about obviously prayers, thoughts and prayers to Greg Davidson. He's still dealing with everything that he's dealing with, and Greg is in our studio now. Thank you, Heather. So we continue to pray for Greg and anybody else that's dealing with tough times like this. And I think, Bobby, on a fourth birthday show, this is where we really go in and we remember Freddie Fryer, because that's the one that put it over right there.
Yeah, Freddie Fryer was probably the first interview. And the show Rodney talked about when we only wanted to go for 9 weeks, and we ended up going a little bit further along. The next goal was Freddie Fryer, and lo and behold, we finally got a hold of Freddie Fryer, and that was the interview that put it over the top. Unfortunately, we lost Freddie earlier this year, and it was a sad deal for us as part of the show, because he was the one that helped to make the turn and a positive turn for the show. And when we realized at that point that maybe we had something special, and we still continue to feel that way on each and every show. So it's been a cool ride, and hopefully for 4 more years, right? Yeah.
Coolest part about that show was that it was really special to Freddie and his family. They really enjoyed that. And as far as I know, I think it's been confirmed that was the last at-length interview there of the Beaumont Flyers. So really special to us. That really is the one when we book in this show at whatever point that we don't do it, or we do it in a different format or whatever, that's really the one that set it a sail. And thank you to Freddie Fryer. That was really cool. And thanks to all of you for checking in. Thank you, Gracie Trotter. Thank you, Taylor Stewart. Fun stuff on a rainy Monday. Be safe along that Gulf Coast.
Yeah, best wishes to everybody along the Gulf Coast, those that are rebuilding. With thoughts and prayers are with you in the rebuild, and especially our friends over in Pensacola.
Absolutely. We'll see you in Houston this weekend. It's going to be a fun race, the Gary Merrill Memorial. If you're heading out to Cotton Bowl, going out there, your point championship night is coming up. You still got Texana, you still got South Texas, plenty of racing in Texas. It's been fun. Congratulations, man. Happy birthday.
Yeah, right. Happy birthday to you, partner.
Yeah, absolutely. Friends, be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. # Real Race Talk from Texas. Side by side.
No kidding.
How about that? Have a great week. We'll see you back here next Monday. It is the Revved Up Sports Show.